judiciary, all of the accountability, transparency, our country has moved forward. But the task is not done. And we will, in opposition, to try things that our country has made. And we made it clear that anything that is beneficial to the people of this country, you will see an approach of collaboration from our part, not confrontation, because we witnessed what confrontation in opposition caused the country. It cost us from end 2011 to 2015, $90 billion of unspent money, which could have been services to people, on student loan, on infrastructure, on Myla, and many of the projects that were held up now that were considered corrupt. The specialty hospital, the airport, the Marriott, all of these have moved on now. Yet we went through a trying period of having to prove over and over that these were not corrupt projects but necessary for development. And we have no intention of doing that. So in Parliament, you will see that reflected. We've never attempted to cut a single measure that will benefit to people. Now, we have heard the President several times speak about the need to work together. He did this at the very first meeting that I was invited for a courtesy call on him. And I had indicated at that time that we are prepared to work on all those issues, on the economy, everything else, with him to play the role of the opposition. But we were willing to work immediately on the border issue. That was the position at that time. But I said also that we have one precondition, that when you stop pursuing the politics, your manifesto, your elections promise, and transition to what is good for all of our people and to move our country forward, that will be the opportune time. So although we have heard from him the right sounding word, social cohesion, working together, etc., transparency, making government more transparent, we have seen in practice a different picture. And that is causing some of the slow in engagement. Because if you, the moment the President leaves the National Assembly, the President came once and spoke about working together. And minutes after he left, you hear from the other side, it's our time now. We're not required to give you any information. When Norton, in the last matter that now the government says he must apologize for, when he sought to obfuscate the matter, to lie to Parliament, because he was being disingenuous, he was saying, oh, you drive down the East Bank and then you turn left and you will find a street there, and if you look to the right, you will see a building. And the government benches were in an uproar. It was in an uproar. The government side was in an uproar, laughing. It was funny to them. He was not giving the people of the country, couldn't know where this bond was. And they found it funny. And then when we asked about the Hague-Bush matter of the Vulcan, he again, were you satisfied? Was the work done? Why do you settle a matter that is still in court that the government appealed? $1.9 billion. And he again sat down and said, I don't have anything to say. Encouraged by the other side. This is not the approach about social cohesion. We then hear about working for all of our people. And you have members of the government who are being paid now, Eric Phillips and the others, talking about this state now, taking on the characteristic of the colonial state and doing reparation for one section of our society. And trying to prove that Afro-Guyanese came here before indigenous people. How does that lend itself to social cohesion with a government that is supposed to be working for everyone? These things, the practice differs significantly. from the pronouncements. The contracts that we have called to release. These are evaluation reports. We've heard the report that Amaila Fall was corrupt, that we gave Motila. Everybody here knows about this. We said, now that you have the evaluation report, release it to the public. And then let the public see whether it was a corrupt transaction. The Marriott Hotel we heard was corrupt. We asked for a release of the evaluation report. The specialty hospital, we asked for that. GPC, new GPC, we asked for the evaluation report of the pre-qualification process because they always argued that we single source, and we were saying it's pre-qualified. And you have the evaluation report. Then we're hearing they can't release these because of confidentiality clauses. Evaluation reports don't have confidentiality clauses. This is it, the practice is different, but we are ready at any moment to work in the interest of our country. We believe, and I've said this before, that we can fight the politics and do well in the future whenever the elections come without destroying our country in the process, without causing misery or private sector to lose business or people to lose welfare. We can collaborate around those things and compete around ideas. And we're willing, we're still willing, anytime. But it has to be matched by reality, seriousness, not rhetoric.
Questions, comments? I'm sure you must have.
And don't worry, soap wouldn't visit you. But that seems to be a big fear among many people who come to talk to me privately. They want to come and see me, but they're looking over their shoulders.
If I may, Dr. Jagdeo, all governments, successive governments in this country have said that the private sector is the engine of growth. And over the years before this man, and that was the government's role to create an enabling environment for the private sector to flourish. My specific question to you is that traditionally BSOs like the GMSC have sometimes found difficulty in engaging the political directory to let our views be known, to influence policy, etc. And sometimes it gets very frustrating. I want to ask, what is your view on the role of BSOs and how do you see, what do you believe could be done to assist BSOs to be much more effective in advocacy and their ability to influence policy?
Well, it's very important. Our approach had always been that mass consultations. So when you look at you were part of the National Development Strategy too, and you recall how many persons we involved in that process, from the opposition, from civil society, from, well, civil society is broad, but the private sector, the labor movement, the foresters, the miners, young people, the people who dealt with IT, so that people get their views right at the beginning in the crafting of the strategy. Their views are reflected. Similarly, with the poverty reduction strategy, with the low carbon development strategy. Low carbon development strategy, we sent out close to 600,000 text messages for people to read about it on the website. We posted even the negative comments. We had 300 community meetings across the country. People came up with their ideas. And then we set up a steering committee that the president chaired once a month that involved women, young people, the private sector, indigenous people's organizations, the government, ministers, a whole range of other groups of people. to look at the implementation of the strategy. The National Competitiveness Strategy, the private sector was represented on the board. And so they got a chance, even though we didn't resolve everything, and I can't say that we agreed to everything and we had a relationship where our views coincided on every matter, but at least there were opportunities for the sharing of views, and they were institutionalized. This is vital. I know about the difficulties in meeting people now, and maybe you'd have to hire a facilitator to do this, because I gather some people can facilitate early meetings now. But at this time with the government. But I believe these organizations have to be included in the crafting of strategies and their implementation, because the impact will be felt mainly by their members and by this society. And I've given you just a few examples of how involved people are. Horace knows about when we developed the program for Linden after Minprop was hired to either shut the bauxite industrial restructuring. We went with the staff from the Ministry of Finance, and we had about 30 meetings with the loggers, with the people in West Watuka, in Block 22, about housing, and in Amelia's Ward, and Victory Valley, all those places, working with them to come up with things that would create employment impact for employment. So should we downsize bauxite, they'd have alternatives. Out of that came a road into West Watuka, opening up new agricultural land, business incubator in Linden, a small loan facility for small entrepreneurs. Not all work perfectly. I must say that we had our ups and downs too in terms of success rate, but people were involved.
Okay, if there are no more questions for Dr. Jagdeo, we'll just, in closing, I'd like to once again thank the Honorable Dr. Bharrat Jagdeo for addressing us today. As I said, the Guyana Manufacturers Association, for instance, is a very important forum as we try to advocate on behalf of our members and we try to influence public policy. But it would also not be fair of me if I didn't mention that it is also an important activity in terms of raising funds to do what we have to do. So in that regard, we thank you for coming, we thank you for supporting us, we thank Pegasus for the facilities and for providing the lunch. And as we leave, I ask you to drive safely, get where you want to go in one piece, and until next time.
You gotta be accessible, you know. You gotta be accessible, man.
Yeah. Since I want to send it to China, come back and get a little right.
You want to hope so?
I've always been. I've always been. Yeah, top of news though.
All right.
if and when Guyana begins to pump oil, what impact that will have on the value of our dollar as it relates to our competitiveness for our traditional exports?
Sure. This is why we have argued that the oil curse, although oil is something that we all look forward to finding and developing and making a contribution to our economy, it could become a curse if we don't manage those resources properly. And so this is why a sovereign wealth fund has to be created very early. It's part of our manifesto too when we campaigned the last elections. And the model that we have to use must be one of the toughest in terms of governmental access to those funds, because if it is based on some flimsy principles where government can access resources, then it could undermine the purpose for which the fund is created. So if that happens, then you can insulate the economy from the Dutch disease, which destroys the competitiveness of other sectors. And you have to be careful about the expenditure of the resources, because if you use it too much to bolster current expenditure, then even like what Trinidad is finding now, that even in a downturn, those can't be cut. If you use it on the capital side, prices move up and down, then you can delay projects, etc. So it's careful management of the resources. My worry is that even now, if you look at the end 2014 to the end of this year, the budget that we have put forward would grow recurrent expenditure by some $40 billion. Recurrent expenditure. So once that gets spent, it becomes a constant every year. It starts recurring. And this is something we have to be very, very careful about. Before 2011, when we were sitting, Donald and I traveled many places when he was campaigning. This was something I spoke extensively about, that when we find oil, what we have to do. It is, how we manage it. It could have an impact on that. The dollar, it could cause the dollar to appreciate and affect the competitiveness of other products. That's why if you manage it well, and you can avoid the Dutch disease, that's considered the Dutch disease, through the wealth fund. And other countries have done this too, the Norwegians, etc. Oil producing countries have managed to, in some way, keep the currency fairly competitive.
Today you basically told us a lot of what you've been saying over the past few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
What really are your solutions?
Well, there are several solutions. There are two sets of things that we can do now broadly, but in the short term, the government has available to itself fiscal tools and monetary tools and taxation policy. Okay, well, it's three basically. It cannot excuse what is happening here by claiming, other countries are going through the same thing. It has to examine the affliction of our society. How will lower commodity prices transmit itself into our economy? And what do we do, and how do we help our manufacturers to ensure that they maintain market share? So would we use some fiscal tools or taxation policy or cheaper money, in terms of interest rate? It has not done that. That is what I'm arguing, that if they are denying that there is a crisis, as Gaskin is saying, then there is no need to do anything. And everybody's suffering, so just let's sit down and wait it out. But because it's a lazy policy to say, we are on these indices abroad and we'll work towards improving our standing by 4 percentage points or come down from 150 to 140. It does not make any sense. So, first of all, the government needs to recognize and acknowledge there is a crisis. 2, that we are not helpless in a crisis of this nature. 3, that there are tools that we can use along the lines they mentioned. and then examine the specific sectors and decide which tool to apply. That is what I'm arguing here. And then, that's in the short term, then they need to clearly enunciate their long-term strategy and what are its key underpinnings. What are the programs they're going to be implementing, the policies, the projects to give effect to that long-term strategy. They have done neither of the two, not short-term nor long-term. And how do we're just floundering in the dark by these inane statements. Look what's happening in Trinidad and stuff. The Trinidadians will fix their problems.
You're concerned about rising oil prices. Is that a real concern in light of the fact that oil prices are going up?
Yeah, it is a real concern in the future because we can't expect oil prices to stay where they are forever. And my argument is that if oil prices rise in the future and we have not made the investment decisions that we are supposed to make now for the electricity, then we will be caught flat-footed. One, with shortages because we don't have adequate power in the system. And secondly, the cost will be horrendous to consumers and the public. And that's why we have to factor in the international trends. You know, we can't operate based on, oh, that is it today. It's $43 a barrel today. And so we have enough time to relax. Or we will wait until it gets to 80 and buy from Lloyd's, because that will not solve the problem. Decisions have to be made today because they have a lag effect. If you're going to install a power plant, even if it's a fossil fuel power plant, it will take a year or two. And so decisions have to be made now, and there is no decision being made.
But the Guri Dam experience in Venezuela shows that there are, when it comes to alternatives.
There's always that